So hopefully we're live. I'm just going to check actually, Kath, to see.
There's a little green live button in the bottom corner of my screen.
Fabulous. So have I. So let's rock and roll then. So hi everyone. This is Heather, and on today's show, I've got an amazing guest. I'm joined by Kath Grimmitt. She's the former owner of the incredible sports apparel brand, The Power of Grayskull. And Kath did an incredible job of transforming and upscaling her business and taking it to a whole new level as a VIP client on the Business to Brand Accelerator program. So I thought it'd be great if we could have her on here and she could share with you her business journey about what was working or what wasn't working rather in her business at the time, and then how she turned that around, and in an incredibly short period of time, how she created a powerful brand and a business that was of a higher value and more credibility in the marketplace. So Kath, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you.
That's okay. So Kath, I gave a quick overview of your business, but can you just describe how you felt before we actually met? I mean, what was going on for you at the time, and why did you feel so stuck or blocked in moving your business forward?
So we started working together in February this year, and January was probably the worst month for me, not in terms of business coming in. It was actually the busiest month that I'd had to date, which was actually quite surprising for a January. So I had a really, really busy Christmas and was just sort of exhausted and had like the burnout of Christmas and everything, but I just felt really, really stuck. Like I felt like the business wasn't doing as well as I wanted it to do, even though we'd had a great Christmas, and I felt like I was just I didn't know where to turn to. I knew I needed to make a step change to sort of pivot the business to being situated in the market a lot more prominently than it had been. So prior to working with you, I was very much involved in the roller derby community, but I wanted to get out to yoga, CrossFit, running, charity running, all that sort of sectors within lifestyle. And I felt like my brand wasn't at a place where it looked and felt credible enough to sort of really break through into those markets, because those markets are tough. And I just felt really disjointed, and I just didn't know where to turn. I didn't have the skills that I required to do it. I didn't know what I needed to do. And I was just sort of an impasse, really. And it was sort of like, do I keep going? Do I try and achieve the goals that I want to try and achieve? But how the hell do I do that? Or do I just accept that I'm going to be a really small brand for the whole longevity of the business? And it wasn't until I actually, put something out into the world and said, look, these are the troubles that I'm having. Is anyone here to help? And then, you were there straight away. So yeah.
You appeared as if by magic. It's interesting that you said about sort of because you brought up a couple of things there about that frustration. I know we've spoken before about the fact that it's very, very frustrating when you've got an idea of your business, of what it should look like and how it should be in the that credibility and visibility point of view, and it's not there. And can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so my previous experience is working for really major high street brands. So I've worked for quite a few menswear clothing companies all across the high street that you would know the names of. And having that positioning already established in a business is something that, until you're running your own business and trying to get to that level of credibility, is something that you perhaps don't appreciate as much. So when I worked for the high street, it was sort of, you'd already gained that level of accountability and kudos, if you like. And that was somewhere that I really saw my business being, not necessarily on the high street, but sort of being a very well-known brand for what we offering something different to what was on the high street. We did a made-to-measure service that was very personal to each customer, and I knew that was where I wanted to go, because I've been in the industry. I knew how things work in the industry at that, you know, a very high level. And I consciously made decisions within the business to control things that were within my power to control, so that my business was a little bit more responsible than perhaps those large businesses can be. You know, I have the small scale to be able to do that. But that was always in the, you know, the background of my mind of exactly where I wanted to go. And it wasn't staying, you know, selling locally or anything. It was an international brand. And getting there is not easy. So, you know, it was all about trying to piece together what it looked like from being a single entity, a single person business, to what that needed to look like in the future. And being aware of the marketplace, being aware of the sector that I was going into, and all that sort of, it's a lot of information to take in. And what I couldn't do was, I didn't have the expertise at the time, was to really break it down and look at specific business models, specific goals of where I wanted to be for the business, and how to get there within a reasonable amount of time, and build it up brick by brick, not just expecting to go from one bit straight to the other. So
yeah, because you, at the time, you didn't have, and many businesses are like this, you didn't actually have a strategy for moving forward, did you? I mean, and I think the starting point where we actually started, which is where actually I start with every single client that I ever work with, is the persona stuff that we did, the persona marketing. So how did you find that going? Because that's quite that's not mainstream stuff that I teach. It's not demographics. It's very much sort of new school of like more of the psychology. So how did you find that sort of experience?
It was for Grey School. It was amazing. As you said, it's not mainstream, so I'd done a similar thing to that in previous jobs, but it was very much demographics rather than the, you know, the persona work that we did, and that completely helped to shift my brain and well, the girls that were working with me at the time, shifting their mindset into really what was the brand about. And it wasn't just a clothing company. It was a state of mind. To sound completely cliche about it, it was wrapping your mind around what the brand ethics were, you know, what our values were, where we wanted to be, what we wanted the company to look like, and who our people are. So I was always drawn to an alternative market anyway. Roller derby is where I started, and there's a lot of alternative people within that market. And, you know, we had crazy cats. We had cat leggings. You know, we were never going to be a mainstream brand. The whole point of our brand is that we embraced that we were different, and really honing in on the personas and realizing who those people were within our alternative brand was fundamental, because actually they were so completely different from each other. You wanted to be able to design for each person without isolating different people. And we went from designing, you know, just putting designs out there to see who enjoyed it, to actually building collections based on those fundamental personas. And actually it massively uplifted the brand, because not only were we just getting people buying stuff for their singular persona, we had designs for each persona. So instead of just giving people one design, there were 5, and people were buying that, and that automatically just, you know, raises up to a whole new platform. And that was without doing all of the additional work that, you know, came straight after doing the persona work.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it, with the persona work. It never ceases to amaze me, even though I've done it for years and worked with loads of different clients. It's such a transformational process in its own right, isn't it? Because everything then builds upon that. Because I don't know if you felt this, but certainly I, you know, from my experience and from seeing it in others, that without doing that kind of foundation work of truly knowing the motivations, the buying motivations of your clients, so that they're so crystal clear they could be sitting right in front of you, everything else, you could be wasting a lot of money. Because I know that before we did the persona work, you tried to work with a lot of different, you know, do a lot of different marketing things, Am I right in thinking that it's because of that lack of direction before that, and the persona work actually gave you perhaps that clarity and that roadmap to actually drive all of your marketing and the exhibitions and everything forward?
Yeah, absolutely. It helped us get really, really focused on what different marketing strategies were appropriate for which personas. So we have three main personas. As you well know, but for people watching, it's Phea, Phea, and then we had Tigra and Emily. So they were our three different personas, and they were all completely different people within the personas. So Phea was the overriding persona of the brand, and if Grayskull was a person, that's who she would be. But actually, ironically, Phea wasn't our main customer. They weren't the main person that bought from us, and it became very, very clear that our other two personas, Tigra and Emily, were our main demographics, where we got our most sales from, our most engagement from, and they were two very, very different clients and different personas, and they came from different areas, and they had different values. And although our personas were all very much interlinked, there was very different key drivers for those individual personalities. And actually, so our Emily persona is more of our health and well-being, and was into yoga. So we focused on, when we went to our yoga trade shows, we would have a predominantly Emily focused exhibition. We would have Phea there, Phea and Tigra present, and because Phea was always the aspirational person for the brand. But we always found that, it was an Emily show. It was predominantly driven by Emily's, and that's the type of people that were there. And they're very tactile, and they needed to feel things in person. And so we had the product there set out for them to feel and try on and have takeaways and things that really engaged that type of customer. Whereas Tigra, our other customer, she was very much instant buyer. So she sees it, she buys it, and that's the end of it. And we really needed to work out which sales tactic for each persona was relevant and really capitalize on that. And that was a huge thing for me, because up until that point, I just kind of bundled all of my personas together in one big pot and sort of put it out into the world, and then was wondering why particular personas weren't buying, or people weren't buying in general. And it was because we got our personas completely, not wrong, but we just sort of misunderstood where they were coming from and their buying habits and how they interact with the world, really. Sort of Tigra is a very much a online instant buyer. They see it, they buy it, but they also are not afraid of buying something that is very unconventional. They're very shocking, if you like, whereas our Emily's are a lot more considered, and they're, like I said, they're very tactile, and it's a completely different buying process for each of them. But that doesn't mean that we can't approach those different buying elements of them. We just needed a clear strategy on how to make our personas work for us, not work for our personas, if that makes sense. So that whole mind shift of being able to have different selling techniques and different ways of approaching our clients for the personas that they fitted into was huge, and it had an instant impact on the business for when we decided to implement it.
Yeah, I mean, I know at the time that, because the next step, wasn't it, was looking at your marketing collateral or your photography on your website, and actually what drove everything from that point forward was the persona work, and actually saying, right, okay, so we, when people landed on your website, we wanted people to actually instantly recognize themselves as a persona. Yeah. And I know that before this, you did this exercise. If you'd appointed a photographer, I'm pretty sure you're like most business owners that haven't gone through this process would have said, oh, well, I need some photographs taken of a few models wearing my sort of sportswear and kind of this location. How did that change you briefing suppliers then, and actually saving yourself money by getting it so crystal clear?
It was huge. And it was, like I said before, it was instant. because as soon as we knew what our personas were, what our personas believed in, how they'd act, how they'd shop, what their interests were, and that was different for every persona, even though there was crossover. Working with the photographers was great, actually, because we went to them with our own brand Bible, is what we call it. It was basically a breakdown of each of our personas, exactly what I said, what their likes were. I essentially had mood boards for each of my personas to really help people visually understand who these people were, what they liked, and that helped us plan with our photographers exactly what those personas wore, what their attitude was, what their hair looked like. Did they have tattoos? Were they very conventional? And every persona was very, very different because of that. And that just made it for us really easy to communicate to the photographer, because for our Tigra persona, for example, we couldn't have somebody who was ordinary. Our Tigra persona is, fully tattooed, loads of piercings, has, really wacky hair colors, and that's the model that we got. And she, oh my God, like, she represents the photos of Michelle as our Tigra are just phenomenal, because she embodies that persona 100%, and that really shone through the photography. And on the day of the shoot, when we were with Michelle, and we showed her the mood board, and we sort of went through the personas, and we went through what Tigra's values were, like, she got it, and you could tell that from the photos, because as soon as she stepped onto that set, that was it. She was that person in body, mind and spirit, and that absolutely came through on in the photograph, and actually that went through in terms of the photography then converting it into the return on it, like the shock impact of having Tigra, especially, she wore our cat leggings with the Stay Weird t-shirt, and she had plaited French plaits down, and she was wrapping her hands as if she was going to bare knuckle box fight. And that singular photo was the reach on that photo was ridiculous, and we sold out of those t-shirts in a day because of that photo, and it just shows the power of having that aspiration and that real clarity behind your photography and behind your personas to really get out to the people who see and believe and see your brand as what they want. It clearly resonated so much that it just really works. So it worked really well.
No, I mean, it's amazing, because obviously, the thing that I love the most is when we actually sort of realize, bring the concepts and the ideas and then bring them into reality. And for me, it was absolutely stunning, because, as you said, taking it from paper personas and then actually finding the models that represented those personas, and then actually sort of putting them into the marketplace so that they acted like a magnet, as you said, to people that resonated so much with those images that they wanted to buy, they wanted to be, or they felt deep inside them that they were the Tigra spirit, and they wanted to buy, I think it was because you actually sort of doubled your sales, didn't you, in sort of like 8 weeks or something? It was about eight weeks, and you doubled.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. So we did a really quick burst up. So we did it when we immediately had finished doing the persona work. We had a photo shoot booked in to do the classic collection, which was all of our best sellers and sort of the designs that most resonated with the broad range of our personas. And that was the photographs that I was just talking about. And then immediately after that, we introduced some lifestyle photos with our new collections, and we've been working on our new collections for a little while as well. And having that quick succession of, it was sort of like, because we did it in such short of a space of time, it was like, boom, here's the new website with all the amazing photography, boom, here's our personas, boom, here's our lifestyle. And that sort of impact of, look, if you looked at where we were in January to where we were by the end of April, it was just, you could have said that they were two different companies. And that impact, and I think actually that sort of firm firm, I don't know what the word is, you know, like we were just so assured in what we were doing. We believe so much in the personas and what we've managed to achieve. And that really resonated with our clients, because we went from being like, oh, here's a design every now and again, to here's our collection, look how kick-ass it is. And that, you know, people were just blown over by it. And we've always been really lucky that we've had a high rate of returning customers. And that just, you know, was put on hyperdrive really. So not only were our returning customers coming back to us, but they were sharing it with their friends. People we didn't know were sharing it, saying, oh my God, look how amazing these are. And it just grew and grew and grew. And in such a short, you know, we had a really quick return for how much work we'd done in such a short space of time. But it really felt like it was worth it, because we worked super, super hard for, you know, by that point it was about 7 weeks.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden that hard work just really paid off, and it really, really levitated. And then our sort of next goal then was to sort of react to it and keep the momentum going and plan forward and go from there. So yeah, it was perfect. It was exactly what we needed and exactly what we wanted and what we planned for. So the fact that we'd had that plan in place and then had it starting to work so quickly was the whole point in doing it really. But it was good to see that what we were working towards was right and was working and started working straight away.
Yeah, cool. So you know, how's this actually shaped now, Kath, how you approach kind of, you know, your work now or moving forward, or what you would, because I know you kind of, with Grayskull, it gave you such immense clarity that you actually started to review yourself as a business owner and your business in general. So, I mean, it was a totally transformational process, wasn't it? Not just for the business, but dare I say it, for you as a business owner as well.
Yeah, it's huge. So I've been running Grayskull for just over 4 years. And I dare I say it, you jinxed me a little bit, because you made me realise
maybe a catalyst. Let's say it a nice way, a catalyst for change.
Yeah, catalyst, definitely. Basically I enjoyed doing it so much that I was like, why am I doing all this other stuff that I don't really enjoy? It sort of got me to thinking how much we'd increased the brand's value in the really short time that we've managed to achieve it. And I just had a difficult couple of months sort of personally trying to sort out my brain and what I wanted from the business and what I wanted from life in general. And I was like, do you know what, actually Grayskull is on a really good path. And I think that now for me, I feel like I've given as much to the business as I could have given. You know, I gave it my absolute all for 4 years, and then we did that amazing work together. And then, it really made me realize how much I love doing the branding side of everything, and how much that is where my passion comes from. And as we've been talking, this is all the bits I get super excited with and use all my hand gestures and stuff. And then when I start talking about, you know, cash flow and whatever, I'm like, oh, why? It just made me realize that actually, perhaps that was my lesson. And actually, as a result, I then got the business valued and sort of decided what my next steps were. Found out that, you know, all that hard work had paid off really well, because the business was worth a lot more than I thought it was worth. And then sort of made the decision then that, I was going to sort of change my tact and see what I wanted to do. So I sold the business.
Yeah, which is fantastic, because, you know, I'm a great believer in business, that businesses are not meant to be jobs for life, because I think there are a very rare breed of business owners that actually go into business and then stick it out for many years, you know, and all credit to them. And there are also thousands and thousands of business owners across the UK who kind of build businesses and then have an exit strategy. You know, I have many times, you did as well. And to the outside world, that can seem quite, oh my God, you know, why is she selling it? And, you know, it must be failing. And that was totally not the case with Grayskull. It was a hugely successful business. the brand you built was incredible. And as you said, the two businesses, to actually look at the persona of that business back in January to the one that you actually sold is just, as you said, I mean, you went from a business definitely to a brand, didn't you?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So what's your, any advice you've got for other business owners out there that may be feeling stuck at the moment, may have tried different marketing things, they can't move their business forward, the vision in their head is not what they actually see in reality? Have you got any words of advice for them?
Actually, you kind of already said it, really, is I never thought about this when I first started the business, because I started the business because I wanted to help people, and I had all of the skills, and I was in the roller derby community, and I fell into starting Grayskull because it made sense. What I never looked at was my exit strategy. What I never looked at was what I wanted the company to look in 5, 10, 20 years time.
Yeah.
And for me, that was a killer of my love for the business. I found that I was plowing through regardless because I wanted the business to be this amazing thing, but I hadn't actually sat down and looked at what that looked like and how long that plan was to get me from A to Z. I wanted to go from A to Z in 5 years, and that physically was not possible. And I think you just need to, my advice to people is, even if you see this as being your full-time job for the rest of your life, that's absolutely great. But you need to plan along the way exactly what you want, exactly at what points. So if it's, by year 5, I want to be able to go on a 2-week holiday and have somebody else run the business for me. If, by 10 years time, I want, a building of my own with 10 staff, that doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen by keeping your head in the sand and plowing on through. You need to take a breath, and you need to review your business regularly. Every strategy, not just marketing, but everything to try and get to where you want to go to without burning yourself out. Yeah. And that sounds like a lot, and it does sound really, really overwhelming, but actually if you ignore all of that, then you are just gonna sort of try and plow on through the mud, and after a while it just kind of gets to you, So
you basically swap a job for a job at the end of the day, don't you? But you're swapping it for a job that actually gives you very little holidays, very little, sort of peace of mind in some instances. Yeah. It is, as business owners, we have to be honest about this. Business is challenging. There is never a day or month or year that goes by in business that doesn't present with challenges. That's part and parcel of running a business and being a business owner. And you're very, very correct in saying to have that vision, to have that kind of, that's what I want it to look like, and how am I going to get there is really important as a roadmap, isn't it? To actually, and you worked incredibly hard, Kath, but what you achieved in just 12 weeks, well, 8 weeks really, because the last 4 weeks were that kind of testing, measuring and just tweaking thing. Yeah. But those 8 weeks, you transformed your business and gave yourself a very clear kind of strategy, didn't you, for moving forwards in whatever, that business would move forward. If you wanted to have taken that on for another year, it would have gone, gone upwards, wouldn't it? But you increased its value, and now you're onto new pastures, which is fabulous, and it's brilliant. Excellent. So thank you so much, Kath, for joining us on the show today. That's really been informative. I'm sure that people have got a lot out of this, and thank you so much, and I wish you all the very, very best of luck and love in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you then.
Bye.